Everyone is currently talking about how some people have no inner monologue.
A few days ago, I found out that not everyone has an internal monologue. So what I mean by that is, like, they can't hear their thoughts.
So let's listen to someone who claims to have no inner monologue talk about this. Let's see what they have to say, and I'm going to show you how this shows that human beings interpret information dramatically differently and that there are different levels of consciousness. If you are new, join our War of the Mind by subscribing right now. My content is controversial, so make sure you hit the bell to turn on all notifications so that you know when something new comes out.
I could look at myself in the mirror, talk
Right.
in my head without opening my mouth. You physically can't do that.
No.
And what would happen if you tried to do that?
I have tried to do that since learning that an internal monologue exists, and I end up speaking out loud to myself. So
How does someone with no inner monologue read?
when I read, I can see the sentence structure. Like in my head, every sentence has a shape, so you can see like the shape of the sentence. And then also like keywords will pop out, and I can file those away into my like concept map. So at the end of reading something, I can have a concept map of the main topics that I read about. And I tend to move my lips when I read.
Different people interpret data and experience existence subjectively dramatically different. So no inner monologue is the lack of an inner voice. But did you know that there are some people that lack the ability to voluntarily visualize an image? This is called aphantasia. And right now, if you want to, you can close your eyes and imagine an apple in your mind. Someone with aphantasia can't. So what's going on here? Well, the fact is that people categorize information differently, and people are at different levels of consciousness. This is something that we've been continuously saying, but people are just now starting to wake up to the fact. Now, all healthy humans are self-aware, but did you know that there are different levels of self-awareness? Prior to human beings becoming self-aware, they were in a completely different state of awareness. This state of awareness is what psychological researcher Julian Jaynes calls bicameralism. Bicameralism is sort of the opposite of a lack of an inner monologue. It's an extreme inner monologue. So according to Jaynes, when humans were bicameral, they didn't have self-awareness like you and I had. Instead, they were in a constant state of hallucinations. And they would hear auditory hallucinations that would command them to do things. So right now, you and I might think, oh, I'm hungry, I think I'll walk up to the fridge and go up to get something to eat out of the fridge. In a bicameral mind, they would hear a voice commanding them, go, hunt, get food, and they would follow that voice. According to Julian Jaynes, this is the origin of religions. People literally heard the voice of God. People were literally commanded by a voice in their head. They weren't self-aware yet. They just did what this voice told them. This commanding voice originated in the right hemisphere of the brain, associated with the unconscious. As we evolved in consciousness, our left hemisphere took over and we became the voice that controlled ourselves. Someone that has no internal monologue doesn't require any kind of voice, not even their own, to get along in the world.
Do you daydream often?
No, never. Hardly ever. I can't think of a time that I've daydreamed, I don't think.
Do you dream at night?
Yes.
And are they normal dreams? Do you hear dialogue in those dreams?
I don't think so, actually.
Human beings subjectively interpret reality completely differently. Different humans use different functions to interpret reality. Some use their reason, some use their intuition, some use their feelings, and some use their senses. This is something that Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung pointed out. And whatever function dominates will determine how someone interprets reality. So someone that uses the sensing function dominantly will perhaps be very good at studying the natural world. They'll be very good at physics perhaps. However, they will be so locked into their senses that they can't understand the idea that there's anything beyond the physical. They can't understand that there's a mental realm, a mental existence, because they are so locked into empirical, physical experiences. Religious people tend to be dominated by their feeling function. Have you ever noticed it's incredibly difficult to argue with a religious person? You just can't get them to change their minds no matter how much evidence or reasoning that you give them. This is because there are just some people out there who like some lack an inner monologue, lack the ability to reason. Someone who is highly religious will talk about the Holy Spirit communicating to them, or seeing God, or feeling Jesus in their heart. Now, these are experiences that a lot of us can't relate to because they're interpreting information differently. Just like some people lack an inner monologue, some people hear voices, feel Jesus in their heart, and things like this.
If you don't have anything in front of you, like no stimulus, what is going on in your head?
Oh, I always have to be doing stuff. Like if I'm alone, I'm cleaning, I'm cooking, I'm like watching Netflix, I'm studying. But I hardly ever I don't just sit there alone.
People process information and experience reality dramatically differently, and we need an education system that reflects this, that's tailored to each individual's way of understanding existence. For example, someone that has an inner monologue versus someone that doesn't must be taught in a completely different way, tailored to their learning style. Someone might be a visual learner, someone might be an intuitive learner, someone might be a learner who learns best with numbers. Some might be one who learns best on their own. Some might be a person that learns best surrounded by a lot of individuals. It's different for each individual person, and what this lack of inner monologue shows, it's sort of shoving in people's faces that there is a difference between how people process information, and it is a dramatic difference. It's not subtle. And just like some people lack an inner monologue, some people have a very difficult time reasoning. This is why we want people who can reason making important decisions. Now, I want to make it very clear that I am not saying that someone that lacks an inner monologue is less intelligent. That is not the case. Now, this person being interviewed, since they lack an inner monologue, may not be the best person to choose if you want to have written a vivid fiction book. However, they might be absolutely fantastic at processing information.
Do you like reading like fiction books, like where you have to put yourself in a situation?
I never really enjoyed reading.
At all?
I think maybe that's why. Like I can see the story plot.
Are you a fast reader?
Yes, very fast reader.
We could have a 100-question test. She's done when I'm on question 12. I'm not even kidding. It is superhuman.
It's time to evolve. It's time to realize that we all interpret information differently. We need a new education system that reflects this. We need a new system of running the world that reflects this. We need an entirely new existence that understands that we are incredibly complex minds that have dramatically different ways of experiencing reality. But we have to understand this so we implement it and don't make big mistakes like putting emotional lunatics in control of the world. We need rational and compassionate people in leadership positions, not emotional, narcissistic, psychopathic people in leadership positions. Even though we are all one and a collective, this does not mean that we are all the same. Just like a body is one, but has different parts, and some parts are better at certain things than others. Now, this does not mean that everyone's interpretation is valid. We have to realize that the reasoning function is the function that must guide everything. So those who are the most rational should be the one making decisions. However, someone who is an intuitive feeler might be absolutely fantastic at making pieces of art. Just like a body, different body parts have different functions.
Every time I shower, I relive an argument from like 2007 and I try to win that argument. Do you not do that?
That sounds like a you problem.
It's not, it's unanimous.
No.
So you don't think about like discussions that you've had in the past and how you could have said something different in that situation?
No.
Have you?
I literally did that like last night.
I do it.
I do it all the time.
Every time I shower, I am constantly just thinking about conversations I've had, maybe some awkward interactions from middle school, or
that far back.
Consciousness is something that's evolving. Conservatives have a different kind of consciousness than progressives, and atheists have a different kind of consciousness than Christians. And collectively, humanity also is a consciousness that is evolving. The philosopher Hegel understood this. Together, as a collective, we are evolving towards godhood. God is not something outside of us, it's something that we become. As the philosopher Hegel understood, the greatest aim of consciousness, the greatest level of consciousness, is for us all to rationally understand that we are one, that we are the universe expressing itself through individual minds. As we begin to rationally understand this, our collective consciousness will raise, and we will begin to optimize and operate in harmony. All the violence, war, bloodshed, and hatred will end. No longer will we have racism, homophobia, bigotry, or anything like that, because we will understand that we are all reflections of each other, that we are all nodes of a cosmic mind, the absolute. Our system is all about showing you how to raise your consciousness, how to maximize your consciousness and evolution. We are the revolution of the mind. We are the next evolutionary step of consciousness. So become a part of the future now. The world is not what it seems, and look how easily a piece of information can dramatically alter the way you perceive reality. Nothing is what it seems, and it's our mission to bring you that information that will alter your reality dramatically. If you think that no inner monologue is crazy, check out my other videos, especially this one that shows that you are in a shared dream right now. Check out this one for even more information, and subscribe now. If you enjoy my work, consider becoming a supporter on Patreon so I can continue to create. A big shout out to all the supporters. My name is Morg and I am Hyperion. Hail New Terra.